the ultimate Fujifilm lens collection. I invite you to watch now this video, bookmark it, save it, because it's a long video with lots of useful information and great pictures made with Fujifilm X-T5 and a bunch of lenses. So let's get right into the video. Hi there, this is 80mm f2, a very criticized lens that I love on Fujifilm X-T5, the 40 megapixels camera from Fujifilm. Let me share with you my experience, my story with 80mm f2 and Fujifilm cameras. The first camera that I've used the 80mm f2 was Fujifilm X-E4, and I really loved the combo. The combo was great. I especially used that combo in summer days. It was light, easy on you, and the pictures were looking great. I've called that combo my Leica Q Junior because very small, very good image quality, and you really don't need more image quality for street photography, for contextual street photography, or even for close-up portraits, because for close-up portraits you will want to use a large aperture like f5.6, f8, f11. So, a great package, but I've discovered in time, especially in winter time, X-E4 started to really bother me because of the problem with the screen rotating on me. It had that sensor very sensible. So I've decided to sell my X-E4, keep 80mm f2 and start using 80mm f2 lens on my Fujifilm X-T5. So why use it? Because I've discovered again that I'm really liking the 28mm field of view. I really like those pictures. The distorted angle of 80mm f2 of a 28mm lens is giving to the image some dynamic, and I really like that. Anyway, I've decided, let me use X-T5 with 80mm f2. After buying X-T5, I've used 80mm f2 by night on X-T5 and also by day. And now I want to share with you my results and my impressions regarding image quality, AF, and how this package is performing as an everyday carry kit, or as a street photography camera, or as a family camera, and so on. So the first point is that this lens, 80mm f2, it is very light, and this is helping a lot the combo, because X-T5 has some weight to it. It's not as light as X-E4 or other XC camera. This is where 80mm f2 comes into play, because it is a pancake lens. It is as small as the 27mm f2.8 and also very light. You will have a very light package. So this is a huge deal, and this lightness of the entire package, X-T5 plus 80mm f2, it is making me want to use X-T5 more. I must admit that no, I really don't like to use X-T5 with bigger lenses. The results are great, but I don't like the weight. So 80mm f2 is helping me use more X-T5 for street photography. So the lightness of this lens on X-T5, it is great. What is lightness if we don't have good AF? I've used this lens in street portraits, close-up, wide street portraits, with my Primavera Neg recipe that I've done a short about it. The results were great. I've used the lens at f2.8, f5.6, f4, and so on. I also used it at f2, but I didn't want that shallow depth of field, because I wanted a film-like picture and didn't want the shallow depth of field, because again, for the effect that I was into it, I wanted a small aperture to have more in focus. The lens performed amazing at these apertures. I didn't have any missed focus, just single point focus shoot, and I was done. And also, the mechanical shutter of X-T5 is much quieter than the shutter of Fujifilm X-E5. I was able to get very close and take the shots. Amazing combo. So great AF, very light in the hand, a pleasure to use. Now all is great, but what we are doing with image quality? The next point is image quality. How is the image quality of 80mm f2 vintage lens on my X-T5? Well, the image is not vintage if you don't want to make it vintage. So this is another discussion, but don't expect the old lenses from Fujifilm to give you a vintage look. The image quality of 80mm f2, it is great. Yes, it's not as sharp as f1.4, and the images doesn't pop so more as the 80mm f1.4. Yes, that lens, it is great, but it is something else. I don't feel that you must choose between 80mm f1.4 and 80mm f2. Those two lenses are completing each other. One have a special role where you want to separate the subject from the background, and when you want that bite, that sharpness, that extraordinary image quality, and this has another role. Image quality again depends on your intention. If you want a vintage like look, or if you want that old Fujifilm look, you can use this lens. The image, it is great, and if you shoot both lenses at f5.6, I really don't think that you'll be able, when you will study the images, to differ between the images in normal printing size on a big screen. Just if you'll do pixel peeping, you'll be able to see that the 80mm f1.4, it is resolving better details, and this is normal. I must admit that the 80mm f2, it is possible not to resolve all the megapixels, but regarding the images that I've got at f5.6, f4, f2.8 in real world use, I'm not whining. I can't say, wow, I can't use this lens on X-T5. No, the final image, the final result, it is great, it is amazing. I'm really liking more the results than the images that I've got on my X-T4, probably because the AF, it is better, so I get better sharpness because of the AF, and because of the dynamic range of the sensor, of the tonalities of the colors, and so on. So the images that you will get with 80mm f2 on X-T5 are better regarding image quality compared to X-T4, compared to X Pro 3, and so on. This is where the sensor of X-T5, it is really helping. Even if the lens doesn't resolve all the sensor, you have so much boost in image quality that you will not complain that, oh, what a problem that I really don't have that window far behind so sharp. No, great image quality. I'm really liking to use this lens on my X-T5 for image quality, for AF, and for the final result. Now the next point, did I upgrade from X-T4 with 80mm f2 to X-T5 with 80mm f2? Well, my impression is that yes, I've really upgraded the combo. Why? Because I get better image quality, better ergonomics, better AF, a silent mechanical shutter, and I really get a usable tilt screen. I can use the screen in vertical mode, and it's really easy to shoot like this, and also I can use the screen in landscape mode without thinking that the screen will rotate on me and I will not be able to compose the image. So the upgrade, it is real. I'm really liking more how X-T5 is performing compared to X-T4 and 80mm f2, and the package is not much heavier. For X-T4 with 80mm f2, I needed to use a camera bag, and also for X-T5 with 80mm f2, I also need to use a camera bag. And this package is as maneuverable as Fujifilm X-T4 with 80mm f2. So overall, a great package, a great upgrade. You also have the grip, and all it is better. The only downside if you want to use bigger lenses is that yes, X-T4 with bigger lenses was a light package. Some users aren't liking that combo. Personally, I like the combo of a small camera with a little bigger lens like Sigma 30mm f1.4. In conclusion, the 80mm f2 performed amazing good. I really have no regrets in buying and in using this lens on my X-T5. If you have an old Fujifilm camera like the X-T30 or X-C3 or X-C4 and you are bothered by the AF and other tidbits that Fujifilm has on the older cameras, you really must be confident if you will buy X-T5 for 18mm f2, you will really do an upgrade and you will still retain the small light package. So I'm really liking that. And if you have X-T5 and don't have 18mm f2, my advice it is buy 18mm f2 brand new, because you'll have a very good aperture ring and use it. The 18mm f2 and the 27mm f2.8 will make from your X-T5 camera an everyday carry kit. Great for snaps, great for pictures, great for street photography. So the package, it is amazing. It is really something. And it also can compete very well at portability factor with X100V. This is 80mm f1.4 on Fujifilm X-T5. This is an 28mm equivalent field of view lens. This means at f1.4 you can get amazing portraits, unique looking portraits, unique looking shots, because you have that f1.4 lens with a very melted background, sufficiently melted background, with a micro contrast out of this world. The lens, it is very sharp, is resolving lots of details. So if you want to shoot it at f8, f5.6 for product photography, for landscape photography and so on, you can use it because the lens will resolve the 40 megapixel sensor of your Fujifilm X-T5 X-H2. But at f1.4 you can get really close with this lens and get some amazing portraits and some amazing unique shots. So the first reason is image quality. The image quality, it is great with the color science of Fujifilm. Yes, you can buy a 28mm f2 on a Sony camera, but you will not have the color science of the Fujifilm, and also you will not have the micro contrast of this lens. So the optics of this lens are extraordinary. So the image quality, it is top notch image quality. The next reason is the AF speed of this lens. The AF speed of this lens in single mode but also in continuous mode is at the level of a Sony camera, so it is very fast. I was able to shoot street photography by night in AF-S in hard lighting conditions by just pressing the button, and the images are in focus. So a top-notch lens for AF speed. So AF will not give you troubles. You can use the old 80mm f2 lens, of course, but the AF of this lens is not, of course, at the level of 80mm f1.4. So the AF, it is great. You will not feel that frustration that the AF is struggling. The AF will not make you any problems. The next point is that this 80mm f1.4, it is great for video work. So this is where this lens, it is winning it for me, because it is a great lens for photography, but also it is a great lens for video work. I am able to shoot this lens in lots of crop modes, video crop modes, using my X-T5 video menu, and I can get amazing shots. I can use this lens indoors, outdoors. I can take vlogs with this lens, I can take product videography and so on. And more than that, being a wide lens, it is very stable. So I don't have handshakes in my footage. This is amazing. So I'm really loving this lens for video work. On the other side, I can't use 80mm f2 for video work. It will hunt and so on. So 18mm f1.4, it is great for video work. The next point refers to the resolution of this lens paired with the 40 megapixel sensor of X-T5 and of course of X-H2. Well, this lens being so sharp, with so much micro contrast, with so good depth of field rendering, it can be used in crop mode. So you can get from this lens a 35mm with an f1.4 aperture that is giving you that light, and also you can crop to the 50mm field of view or even more if you want so. And I'm telling you from my experience, the pictures will pop. This is like on Leica Q2, and the Leica Q2 can crop till the 75mm field of view. So with this lens you can do also that. Yes, I've cropped, but the image it is small, but it will work on social media and in small prints. So basically you have at least 3 focal lenses, 3 fields of view in this lens. Of course you will not have the compression and so on and so on, but it will work, it will do the job. You will get portraits like you would get with a 20mm f2 on Fujifilm, or even with 35mm f2 if you are getting it close to your subject, but with an f1.4 lens. And this is my last reason, the f1.4 lens. Yes, I must address this fact again. Lots of us aren't realizing when we are starting photography how important is the f1.4 lens. The f1.4 aperture of a lens is important because it lets lots of light to hit the sensor. What does this mean? This means you can use a bigger shutter speed so you can freeze your subject. This means you can use a lower ISO so you'll have a clean image without noise. And also this is adding to the blurry of your depth of field when you want a blurry depth of field, when you want to separate the subject from the background. So this f1.4, it is magic, and it is a very important aperture that you want on your lens, and especially on an APS-C lens. So in conclusion, what I've said may be not sufficient to motivate you because you are thinking about the price, because you are thinking about the weight. This was my biggest problem, the weight and of course the price. Okay, I get the advantages, I get the benefits, but does it deserve in the end? Well, when I'm looking at my footage, when I'm looking at my images, when I'm looking at this kit, and when I'm taking this kit, I know that I can do all the photography that I want with just this kit. This is why I've called this kit my Leica Q2 Senior, because comparing it to Leica Q2 regarding images, I get, in my point of view, as a Sony A7RC user, so as a full frame user, I get the same image quality as a full frame camera, but even better because I have the Fujifilm colors and the Fujifilm micro contrast and the Fujifilm ergonomics. Next, you'll be motivated when you'll see your pictures. The images are popping, the portraits are popping, the video is looking great straight from the camera. You don't have to work anymore with the footage. The film simulations of a Fujifilm camera are so great, especially in video work. So okay, I'm getting this, but why not to take the 35mm f2, the 80mm f2 and other lenses for my Fujifilm, smaller lenses and so on. Yes, you can get smaller lenses and you can buzzer by changing the lenses on your Fujifilm X-T5, but those lenses, how Fujifilm is saying, some of them doesn't resolve the full sensor of your Fujifilm X-T5. Next, this lens, how I've said, is resolving, and you can crop in and get the same field of view and the same effect even better than other lenses. So basically buying this lens is like buying 3 lenses from Fujifilm. So wait 3 lenses on your X-T5 and wait this lens. I think it's a no-brainer that it is better to have one lens with one good camera that is helping you get all the footage and all the pictures that you want depending on the scene where you are. So this lens again is great for architecture, this lens is great for interiors, this lens is great for travel photography and so on. So the only problem remains portability. This depends on you. If you want portability, of course this lens is not for you. But if you want to work with this lens, if you want to do product photography, if you want to do event photography, if you want to do wedding photography, if you want to do footage, vlogs, video work with this lens, if you want to use your X-H2 or your X-T5 as a working camera that can bring you some money, then this lens is a no-brainer. Yes, you pay a little more than other lenses, but you gain more on the long term. You gain more. You really don't need to work with the color. You have a beautiful, extraordinary image image quality. And this is why I will keep this lens. It's a lens that it's bringing me joy, it is bringing me good images, and it's bringing me good footage, good video on my X-T5. So a totally winner lens for your X-T5 or X-H2 camera. I always get the question, how I will make money for my photography hobby? How I will make money from content creation? For this, I've made a special report, 5 essential tools to grow your photography business. You can get this free report and access to my business newsletter, where I will share with you free, valuable, actionable content for my 20+ years experience in growing online businesses. It's not about the photography skills, it's not about the photography gear, it's especially about business skills if you want to make money from your hobby. So if you are into this kind of content, please subscribe now to my business newsletter and instantly you'll receive my top 5 essential tools that will help you grow and start your photography content creation business. Type the short link in your browser or access it in comments or even here in this YouTube video. I've put my 80mm f1.4 at f1.4 and shot X-T5 with this lens with AFC and the same settings like on 35mm f2. AFC focus release priority. Well, the results were again great. It was able to track and to take pictures after pictures after pictures. But being a wide lens and having more in frame, because it's a wide lens, the point was skipping from there to there in some situations. But it's not something that I could whine about regarding the AF of the camera. No, I feel that the AF, it worked great. Again, even better than on my Sony a7C. So great results, but again, it's a wide lens. Of course, you have many people with a wide angle lens. It worked great again when you are near the subject, but when you are very near the subject, I felt it had a little more lag than the 35mm f2. It's not something, again, a deal breaker. No, again, it's great. It's great. But I'm just saying, and I'm just showing you some tidbits here. So, great results with the wide angle lens, again, no problems. After that, I said, okay, I want to test the 80mm f1.4 with focus release priority, with AFC priority release set to release. So, the camera will release the shutter and take the picture, even if the camera is not confident that the subject it will be in focus. So, the results compared to the previous firmware are great. The results are very good. I've got more pictures, sharp pictures with this setting. But of course, I've got some pictures that weren't in focus. But it's not a deal breaker. So if you want to be sure that you've got the shots and you are the kind of guy or girl who is shooting more by pressing the shutter release button because you want more pictures and you are okay to have some pictures out of focus, but you want to get those pictures at that time, then this is the setting for you. The results are outstanding. You will not have any complaints. But again, of course, this is a wide angle lens. Next, let me share with you my settings because I've made some settings to the AFC tracking option. So I've set this camera on continuous auto shooting, and going to menu AFC custom settings, I set track sensitivity to +2 and speed tracking sensitivity to +1. So the settings are just in the middle. Anyway, I feel the camera is doing a great job, but another tidbit that I've observed is that the camera is totally ignoring the middle point or the zone focusing. So the camera is looking for IAF and it's ignoring the middle point or the single point or the zone focusing if you have that little square box. So it's looking at all the frame. But I don't know if this is a problem. Sony a7C is working the same. So if Sony is seeing an eye in the frame, it's going for the eye. So this could be a bummer in some street photography situation and in some events, and you would want to set a custom button to AFS when you want to use that AFS and don't want the camera to look for the IAF. So anyway, finally, Fujifilm X-T5 is at the list or above the level of Sony a7C from my experience. I don't have other Sony cameras, but Sony A7C, it is pretty good and very good, and this in photography is at least at the level of Sony A7C, if not even better, So finally, I can confidently use X-T5 with AFC and IAF without problems. Finally, we have a Fujifilm camera that will assure us that we'll have the eye in focus. These are great news, and congratulations to Fujifilm, and I'm very thrilled to use this setup in street photography like this because it is a wonderful way to shoot like this. Again, I'm loving it very much, and again, better than Sony if you are asking me, better at this moment. So the first camera body and lens that I will compare to X100V, it is X-T5 with 27mm f2.8 Mark II from Fujifilm. This lens, it's a pancake lens. It is very small and very light. So this lens on X-T5 is making X-T5 very light and very compact. So in hand, the weight is similar to X100V. But yes, it's a little heavier than X100V. But it's as slim as X100V, and in my point of view, for X100V you need to take a camera bag to carry it with you. So in real world use you will have two portable cameras that have the same portability. I can't say this is more portable than Fujifilm X-T5. Yes, it's a little slimmer, it's a little lighter, but again, the differences are very small in real world use. So this lens on X-T5 is making X-T5 a very light camera, easy to use. I feel that this lens and camera body combination is able to replace X100V. Another thing that X-T5 with this lens has in common with X100V is that it is weather sealed. X100V, it is weather sealed, fully weather sealed, just with the lens hood and with the UV filter. So with a protruding lens. But here it's a package weather sealed without the need of adding a filter or a lens hood. So this is an advantage for X-T5 with 27mm f2.8. Now let's talk about the AF. I feel that the AF of X-T5 with this lens, it is better than X100V, no questions asked. So huge difference, especially with the latest firmware 2.0 on X-T5. So better AF, better AF. Another point that we must take in consideration when we are comparing these two cameras is that X-T5 with this lens has an f2.8 aperture, but this is an f2 aperture. So this could be a problem when you want to take portraits or when you want to use your camera in low light situations. So in low light situations and when you want to take portraits, I feel that X100V is doing a better job because the lens is good, it is sharp, especially with good light, and you have the f2 aperture. But on the other hand, X-T5, because it has a great sensor in it, will make the image quality that is coming from this lens shine. So this lens is not as good as the X100V lens, but the sensor of X-T5 will help a lot this lens. So overall, regarding image quality in general situations, I can call them equally good. Now, another factor that you might take in consideration is that this lens will offer you a field of view equivalent with a 40mm field of view, but X100V has a field of view of around 35mm. X100V has a larger field of view, so it will be better in almost all situations. With this lens, you'll feel a little constrained indoors, but it will help you take better composition. So it's really up to you. Do you know your focal length? If you don't know your focal length, then yes, the 35mm focal length, it is suited. But also I have another alternative. So overall, X-T5 with this lens, I feel it can replace without problems the X100V experience and the X100V camera. The shutter of X100V, it is very silent. It's as silent as a leaf shutter. So again, huge point here. TTArtisan 27mm f2.8 lens, titanium color. So let me share with you my first impressions. I've saw lots of reviews, written reviews and video reviews about this lens, and my findings aren't matching exactly those reviews. So a very popular Fujifilm X ambassador said that this lens is snappier than the 27mm f2.8 lens from Fujifilm. On X Pro 3, this lens for me in AFS it is very slow. For the moment I've used it just indoors in low light, and it had problems in focusing close. It was squeaking and it was missing focus and so on. So this lens again on Fujifilm X Pro 3, the 27mm f2.8 Mark II is better regarding AF as my first impression. Again, I wasn't able to take this lens and pair it with X Pro 3 to test it in real world street photography or photography outside, just indoors. Next, I've tested this lens after seeing it wasn't performing well on my Fujifilm X Pro 3 with X-T5, because I know the Fujifilm X-T5 has a great AF motor, and yes, the results on X-T5 were and are great results compared with X Pro 3, especially in AFS. I've used it in AFS for the moment. It's working great, it's not bothering me at all on X-T5. So on X-T5 it's moving very fast. So probably this lens will work very well with future Fujifilm cameras, or maybe with older cameras if TTArtisan will improve again the firmware of this lens. And for improving the firmware you have a cap with a USB-C that can help you update the firmware. But coming to the performance of this lens in real world street photography, I've just looked at the pictures on my phone and on the screen of this camera. All the pictures were in focus, in hard conditions, in good lighting conditions, but also in hard lighting conditions. So in real world use for street photography, for everyday photography, it was snappy and delivered the results. Yes, I felt it a little slower than the 27mm f2.8, but I didn't miss any moment. So the lens, it is sufficient fast. It is very fast, I could say, on X-T5, but again, it's not faster than the 27mm f2.8 from Fujifilm. So who is saying that? I'm sorry, it's not faster, but it is sufficiently fast. Again, and comparing this price of this lens, 1/3 or less or 1/4 of this lens, brand new, again, this is a bargain. So I love the fact that it's coming with a metal lens hood in the box. I can't understand why Fujifilm chipped on the lens hood on such a small lens hood. So I really love that. I really love the color of this titanium color. The aperture ring, it's okay, it is very stiff and I like that, but you don't have those nice clicky aperture clicks like you have on the 27mm f2.8 lens. But it's not a loosely aperture ring, and this is important. Also the ring of the aperture, it is very stiff, so you will not bump it by mistake. Also, the focusing ring, I really like it. I like the grip of the focusing ring. It is smooth, so I like the focusing ring a lot. And also the lens, it is very light. It is very well built, sturdy, and I like it. But also have in mind that this lens is again a little bigger than the 27mm f2.8 lens from Fujifilm. So overall, what is my conclusion? My conclusion is that this lens is deserving every penny. If you have X-T5, X-H2, X-H2S and all other Fujifilm cameras that will follow, this lens will focus very fast as any Fujifilm lens. You will not be bothered by it. The AF, it is great, and also the image quality, it is great. You have a vintage looking image quality, and I really like that with an AF lens. You have some vignetting at f2.8, visible vignetting, but it's something that I like with lens that is giving me such vintage vibes, strong vintage vibes, so I like that. Also the lens, it seems very sharp at f2.8, crazy sharp at f2.8 and so on. So for the price, again, a totally bargain. But overall, if you want to know my impressions between Fujifilm 27mm f2.8 and this lens, of course, the Fujifilm 27mm f2.8, it is better, smaller, faster, nice clicks and so on. And AF at minimum to focus distance is great. So for the price, I feel you'll receive more, even if on my X-Pro C I wasn't able to test it enough. On X-T5 the results were totally great. So if you have X-T5, X-H2, X-H2S and you don't have this lens, you can buy this lens, and you can buy it just for the color. And this was my reason I like to have a 27mm f2.8 in a silver titanium color with my silver X-T5. A magic lens on Fujifilm X-T5, Viltrox 23mm f1.4 on Fujifilm X-T5. I want to share with you my real world review of this lens on this body. So we have here Viltrox, a vintage looking lens with vintage looking results, like a Minolta lens from my point of view, on X-T5. I've used this Viltrox on my Fujifilm X-T4, on my Fujifilm X Pro 3, and I was satisfied with the results, but from time to time I wanted a little better AF and a little better image quality. Let's see if now Viltrox on X-T5 is a better performer or a worse performer than on X Pro C or on X-E4. First point that I want to address, it is Viltrox on X-T5, how it's feeling in the hand, how the combo it is feeling on you when you are using this combo. If you will use the lens hood, and my advice is use the lens hood, you'll have a little protruding lens, but use the lens hood just when you have sun outside. But the lens on X-T5, the good news is that it is staying well and good. It's not on the heavy side. It's a package that you can take with you everywhere. It's at the limit again, but it's a very good package, and I will show you in a minute why. So I really like how the Viltrox is staying on X-T5. It's a more portable package than the Fujifilm X-T5 and 80mm f1.4. So this is where the tricky part comes in. You'll have a better compression, an f1.4 lens, and a smaller package than X-T5 with 80mm f1.4 or even X-T5 with Fujifilm 23mm f1.4. So I really like this combo. It's a workable combo, it's a dream combo from my point of view. You'll have a very nice package that will give you mojo, that will invite you to pick it up and to use it on the streets, in family photography, in event photography, in portrait photography. So I'm really liking this combo a lot. I have just praising words for this combo body and lens. Now let's talk about the AF, how Viltrox it is focusing on my X-T5. Well, Viltrox 23mm f1.4, it is focusing very fast and accurate on my X-T5. Yes, it may not be so accurate like the Fujifilm 80mm f1.4 or Fujifilm 23mm f1.4, the latest and greatest lenses from Fujifilm, but is doing the job. You will not be frustrated with the results. The results are okay in AFS, and also you can use this lens in AFC with eye detect, but the AF with IAF, it's a problem on Fujifilm X-T5, and this will be a discussion for another day. But for street photography, for normal shooting in Fujifilm system, you will love how the AF of the 23mm f1.4 or Fujifilm X-T5 will act. Great results, great AF, you'll not miss focus. You'll have great results in good light, of course, but also in low light, how I'm showing in the pictures. I have the latest firmware installed on X-T5, and after doing the Viltrox video review, I've decided to go out again and test how Viltrox 20mm f1.4 is acting on Fujifilm X-T5 with the latest firmware update. I was very curious, will I have better AF in AFC or in AFS? Well, I must confess that my discoveries are mixed. The AF it is fast, but I don't feel I've got some improvements regarding the accuracy of the AF. So, faster AF in AF single mode and faster AF in AFC, but not as accurate and as exactly as on a Fujifilm lens. The experience it is more pleasing, but I feel the ball is in the Viltrox part. They need to bring a new firmware update for 20mm f1.4 to get the same results as we are able to get with the Fujifilm lens. How I've showed in my video, the 35mm f1.4 with firmware 2.0 on X-T5 is very accurate and fast, and the latest lenses and the 35mm f2 lens and so on, very accurate results, very fast, very good results. But Viltrox it is faster, but I don't feel it is more accurate. So the firmware of X-T5 is improving the AF of Viltrox, but Viltrox needs to get a new firmware update for 20mm f1.4 to get those good results that we are getting on a Fujifilm lens. So let's get back to the video. Now let's talk about the image quality of Viltrox 23mm f1.4 on Fujifilm X-T5. Well, the image quality of this lens on Fujifilm X-T5 it is great. It is amazing. It's like you are having a Leica lens on a full frame body. This is how I interpret the pictures that I've got. If I will let the pictures in low light taken with this lens on this body and sensor, yes, I will have some noise. But if I will use the new feature from Lightroom, Adobe Denoise, I will get a great image, an image that will look like on full frame. And this will be a very interesting discussion on how Viltrox is comparing to my Sony a7C with the 35mm f1.8. Because as a short insight, I feel that I love more the results from the Viltrox on X-T5, but again processed in RAW with Adobe Denoise. I get that vintage look, that Minolta look, that leaded glass look in my pictures with the subject popping, with the subject separated, and I get enough tonality in black and white. So the results regarding image quality are great. I'm totally loving this lens for the special look. And yes, if you will look at other reviewers, you will see that Viltrox is suffering from chromatic aberration, but for me this is not important and I love to shoot this lens a lot. Another thing to address, it is the minimum focus distance of this lens, that it's crazy good. It is 0.3 meters, so 30 centimeters. You'll get very nice pictures with this lens for product photography, and you'll be able to do close-up portraits. And the lens it is very sharp, Post-processing a little or make the right settings in your Fujifilm X-T5 camera and you will get great results. So minimum focus distance, AF, image quality, it is great. And now let's talk about the price. What options do you have in this field of view? Well, for the moment Sigma didn't release, from what I'm knowing, a 20mm f1.4 on Fujifilm. But from my not so happy results with Sigma lenses and looking at Sigma rendering, I really do prefer the Viltrox lens. And also I really do prefer the Viltrox lens compared to the Fujifilm lens because the price is easy on your pocket. The rendering, crazy good. Again, Minolta looking rendering. I'm really liking this a lot. I'm liking this modern looking compared to the Fujifilm 20mm f1.4 WR or compared to the Sigma sharp looking. I really love the rendering from this lens a lot. So price, size, build quality, aperturing, again, it is very okay. I'm not bumping this aperturing on my X-T5, and this lens has at least 2 years and I've used this lens. So the aperturing is like new. I don't bump it. The AF it is great, the image quality is great, and the price amazing. So regarding the price, I feel that the Viltrox it is winning it compared to Sigma, compared to Fujifilm and so on. So great package. I really recommend get Viltrox on your X-T5 or on another Fujifilm camera because you will really love the results. I always get the question how I will make money from my photography hobby, how I will make money from content creation. For this I've made a special report, 5 essential tools to grow your photography business. You can get this free report and access to my business newsletter where I will share with you free, valuable, actionable content for my 20+ years experience in growing online businesses. It's not about the photography skills, it's not about the photography gear, it's especially about business skills if you want to make money from your hobby. So if you are into this kind of content, please subscribe now to my business newsletter and instantly you'll receive my top 5 essential tools that will help you grow and start your photography content creation business. Type the short link in your browser or access it in comments or even here in this YouTube video. Sigma 30mm f1.4 on Fujifilm X-T5. Let's see how this lens is acting on Fujifilm X-T5 AF image quality and how this lens is comparing to the 35mm f2, to the 50mm f2 and to the 35mm f1.4. How Sigma 30mm f1.4 is acting on Fujifilm X-T5, and let's see if this lens is deserving to have a place in your camera bag. So let's talk about this, but before, please give it a like. The first point that I want to address is AF, because AF is important and we know that Fujifilm X-T5 brings some improvement to the AF, but not so good improvements, how I will show in another video that I have to do. 6 months of Fujifilm X-T5, so subscribe to see that video. The good news is that the Sigma 30mm f1.4 on Fujifilm X-T5 AF is great. Is great. I've tested this lens in street photography, in videography, in studio with AF, with continuous AF in video. So in AFS, in street photography, good results by night and of course by day, and in studio very good video AF, great for video AF. I really appreciate this lens for this, and you'll have a very melted background and very nice colors. The next point is image quality. Well, the Sigma 30mm f1.4 was already bringing good image quality to the table, but again at f1.4, when you are pixel peeping the image, it will be of course not so detailed, but the entire image has a nice micro contrast and the final result is great. So regarding image quality and colors, you will get the Sigma signature and the Sigma colors. You will see those Sigma colors. It's a lens with good rendering in black and white, so overall I feel the image quality is great for portraits and for video work. I would not call this lens a digitally sharp lens. Yes, it doesn't have the character of the 35mm f1.4, but it's a very nice rendering. I'm liking it, especially in black and white, but for color it really depends. I like it for color also, but again I like for color more the 35mm f1.4. So great image quality, great AF. The next thing that I want to address regarding this lens on Fujifilm X-T5 is how this lens is balancing on Fujifilm X-T5, because this is very important. I've bought this lens for my Fujifilm X Pro 3 because I was disappointed with the AF of the 35mm f1.4 lens on X Pro 3, but the Sigma focused very well on X Pro 3. But on the other hand, the Sigma is focusing well on X-T5, but is making the entire package X-T5 with Sigma a very big, cumbersome package for someone who is doing photography just for hobby. So this is where the tricky part comes. Sigma is great on X-T5, but you really need this big Sigma on your X-T5, or you could go with the 35mm f1.4 or other lenses. So regarding the entire package on X-T5, I'm really not liking to take this package for street photography and for family photography. For paid work, for paid jobs, or for video indoors in my studio, or for different shots where I need to make a professional work is okay, but for fun and hobby I would not recommend to pair this lens on X-T5. Why? Because we are getting now to the comparison with the next three lenses. How Sigma is compared to the 35mm f2 lens on X-T5? Well, my impression is that with Sigma you'll get better bokeh, you'll get better subject to background separation, but again with a big package and better AF for the moment. I've tested the 35mm f2 just in one photo street shoot. I hadn't had any time to test it again, but between all these four lenses, I felt that the 35mm f2 was the worst performer regarding AF. From one test with this lens, I didn't have very good experience. The experience is okay, don't get me wrong, you'll get the shots, but the lens, the 35mm f2 lens, focus better in my opinion on X-T4, on X-Pros 3 and so on. So regarding AF, I feel between Sigma 30mm f1.4 for my latest test and 35mm f2, Sigma performed better, but the overall package, this is lighter and it again depends, and with Sigma you'll get better bokeh. But now comes the interesting part. We have here the 35mm f1.4 lens, the magic lens from Fujifilm, and the good news is that the X-T5 is focusing very fast in pictures with the 35mm f1.4. I didn't test this lens for video work because it doesn't have a silent motor, and again the field of view, it is a narrower field of view compared to Sigma. But between Sigma 30mm f1.4 and Fujifilm 35mm f1.4, I've made my mind. In this moment I'm preferring the Fujifilm lens, the 35mm f1.4. You'll get amazing portraits, you'll get amazing street shots, you'll get amazing images. The rendering from this lens, it is very special, and the lens, it is lighter and more compact than Sigma. So this is why I've decided to sell in the end my Sigma, because the 35mm f1.4 it is sufficient, and the field of view of Sigma it is very close to the field of view of the 35mm f1.4. So I don't win much regarding the field of view of Sigma. I would have preferred the Sigma with a 27mm focal length, so I would have a 40mm field of view, and in that moment there was another discussion. But on Sigma I have a 45mm field of view. I'm liking this field of view. It is very usable for everyday shooting, but the lens is too big for everyday shooting, so I can't make this package an everyday carry, and on the streets is not comfortable if I want to take Sigma with X-T5 and let's say with another lens. But X-T5 with the 35mm f1.4 with another lens, it is great. Now the next lens that I want to compare Sigma on X-T5 is the 50mm f2. So I've used the 50mm f2, and again the AF it is great, but I've used the 50mm f2 with the latest firmware from X-T5. I really need to test again the 35mm f2, but the 50mm f2 had a very good AF, very fast, in low light, in good light, very good rendering, very good bokeh, very sharp pictures, the subject is popping very well, and so on. So regarding these two lenses, as you are able to see, Sigma is way chunkier than the 50mm f2. And if you want to buy a lens for portraits with that f1.4 aperture, I feel that the 50mm f2 might be a better choice than Sigma 30mm f1.4. And again the 35mm f1.4 is again a better choice. Yes, the next question is, how about Sigma 56mm f1.4? I will do the review of the Sigma 56mm f1.4 on X-T5, but regarding these fields of view that are pretty close to each other, I feel that the win goes to the 35mm f1.4 regarding portraits and everyday carry, followed by the 50mm f2, a little narrow field of view, not such a documentary lens, but again this field of view it is also a narrower field of view, and lots of people also complain that yes, they wanted a little wider field of view, followed by the 35mm f2. But if you are loving the 45mm field of view, and if you want good video in studio and subject to background separation for video work, And for product videography, then Sigma 30mm f1.4 is a very good choice. It's a very good choice. The lens has very good build quality. I have it over a year and is looking great. It's very matte and it pairs very well with other small Fujifilm cameras like Fujifilm X Pro C, like Fujifilm X-T4, X-T30 and so on. But on X-T5, even if the end results are very good, I'm not preferring it because of the entire package that is pretty big. So overall a good lens, and the big advantage of this lens is again in video. So if you are a hybrid shooter and if you want to use your X-T5 or your X-H2, X-H2S for video, then Sigma is the lens to go. The lens that I hate on Fujifilm X-T5, and not just on Fujifilm X-T5. I am forced to use this lens, but I really don't like it. And now I just found a problem that will make me not like it even more. But I am forced to use it. So let's talk about this now. So I feel something is moving. Something is moving in this lens. Yes, probably a floating element. Okay, hello there and welcome to my channel. My name is Tudor Matescu and I like to talk about photography tips and tricks, Fujifilm cameras, Sony cameras, Olympus cameras, Lumix cameras, and all that is related to photography, to videography, and to content creation. So if you are in content like this, please subscribe now to my channel for more content like this. So after you subscribe, let's get to the subject. Wow, this lens, when I'm talking and moving it, I am feeling the elements floating around. This is XF 16 to 80 mm f4 zoom from Fujifilm. I was forced to buy this lens or my X-T5. It came as a kit lens. I wanted just X-T5, but the X-T5 sold out, and okay, I said I will not wait anymore, and I've bought the kit X-T5 with 16 to 80 mm f4 zoom. So Fujifilm is saying that this lens, that how I've said I am hating it, is not resolving the 40 megapixels sensor of X-T5. A point to hate this lens, but again I'm forced to use it, and I'm using it because you will see why. The lens is not resolving the 40 megapixel sensor, but it has some advantages, and this is why I'm using this lens, even if again I really don't like it at all. Why I'm using this lens? Because the reach of this zoom, it is very good for what I'm doing, for photography, for videography, for B-rolls with the X-T5 camera, because the X-T5 is shooting in 4K, very good quality. With this lens I'm able to get some buttery smooth shot, because this lens has optical image stabilization and also has a pretty acceptable good AF in video. We'll get to the photo side, but also because of the reach. So I'm able to get shots at 24 mm field of view equivalent, and also shots at 120 mm field of view equivalent. This lens, it is very usable for product photography, but also for product videography. So I'm loving to use this lens, or I need to use this lens or my X-T5, because I don't have another zoom and I would not look for Sigma, because I already have this zoom that it's doing the job. Now, the next point that I don't like about this lens is the fact that this video is sponsored by my site and my newsletter. On my newsletter I share tips, tricks, POVs, explain POVs, where I document all kinds of events and designs and so on that you can get and download on your computer. So please check my newsletter. You'll find the link of my newsletter in the comments and in the description. Click that link and subscribe now to my newsletter for more tips, tricks and news from me. It is heavy. It is a heavy lens and the reach is not so great. When I'm looking at my Olympus zooms, 12 to 100, wow, that zoom, this is as heavy or heavier than that zoom, and I don't know, it's very chunky. I really don't like the weight. Next, I don't like the AF. The AF is not good on my X-T5. It's not okay. It's doing the job, but it's hunting, it's missing in photography, and I'm not okay with the AF. And also in videography, the image quality in some situations it is poor. In some situations it is poor, but for B-rolls I am liking it. Also, I'm liking the aperture ring. It is okay, but for a zoom, the aperture ring, for a fixed aperture zoom, I don't know, it is really bothering me. I do prefer aperture rings on a prime, but on a zoom, I don't know, it feels weird at the moment. Now, the next point that I like is that this lens has weather sealing and optical image stabilization. So you have weather sealed, optical image stabilization, and in theory, with this package, XF 16 to 80mm f4 zoom with X-T5, you will be able to take all the photography and videography that you would want. But I don't know, the package, it is hard on you. The f4 aperture is not giving you enough light for low light shots. The IBIS, it's okay, IBIS and OIS for video, but not like on a Micro Four Thirds camera. And in the end, what you will get? So a very big package that I really don't see any advantages. But I've said I am forced to use this lens. Now, why I'm forced to use it and why I'm not selling this lens? Because it is very, very usable for my B-rolls. I'm able to get very good B-rolls and cinematic shots with this combo. So this is where Fujifilm X-T5 with this lens is making a great pair for B-rolls, for me, at least in studio. But other than that, I would not recommend to buy this lens as an everyday carry kit. No, it is heavy, it's not okay. The AF, it's not great, and the image quality, again, it's okay, it will do the job, but for the price, for the weight, and I don't know, I'm really not satisfied with this lens. But because I bought it and because I'm finding it very usable, how I've said, in studio, I will keep it for the moment. But in rest, I'm pretty disappointed with this lens. And this is it. So probably if you want a go-to zoom for Fujifilm, probably the best choice at this moment could be Sigma or probably the old kit zoom lens from Fujifilm. But this zoom, again, I'm not thrilled, but also it will do the job in travel photography if you want to use it. So it's a zoom that it's doing the job, but it's not something that is motivating me to pick it up like I'm motivated to pick up the 80mm f2 or the 35mm f1.4 or the 80mm f1.4. Those lenses have something special. Those lenses are delivering good image quality, good mojones on the street or in travel photography or in even photography. Those lenses are delivering. This is just a tool. It's doing the job, but that's it. Check my affiliate links to see what gear I'm using and buy something for you if you want to support my channel from Amazon. Let's start first with X-T5 and 35mm f2. I've used for my first pictures X-T5 with 35mm f2 in AFC with IAF, AF plus manual F disabled, and release focus priority in AFS and AFC in focus. So the camera will take the picture, will release the shutter just when it has the focus confirmed. On my initial test, this was working and it was not working. The camera was releasing and the subject wasn't in focus. More than that, the camera had a very big lag when it was ready to release, so it wasn't working. But now I must confess that it worked great. It's working even better than my Sony a7C camera. So I feel that yes, finally Fujifilm did it. X-T5 with 35mm f2 focused with IAF in street photography with moving subjects in difficult lighting conditions, backlight, sunlight, mixed lighting conditions. Very, very well. It tracked the subject and released when it was needed. This video is sponsored by my site and my newsletter. On my newsletter I share tips, tricks, POVs, explain POVs, where I document all kinds of events and designs and so on that you can get and download on your computer. So please check my newsletter. You'll find the link of my newsletter in the comments and in the description. Click that link and subscribe now to my newsletter for more tips, tricks and news from me. So the results with Fujinon 35mm f2 at f2 are crazy good. I am amazed. Finally I can use X-T5 like my Sony a7C camera or even better. So here it is, Sony a7C for reference, because this Sony a7C, and as we all know, Sony cameras has great IAF. But in street photography, I'm not always preferring to use the IAF on my Sony camera, because being lots of people, you don't know where the tracking and where the IAF will go. But it's working in the majority of cases without problems. But there are some cases where you have the AF where you don't want it. But on X-T5 I feel it worked better with the 35mm f2. It was tracking and it was taking the shots. So I'm very thrilled and very satisfied with the results. I was getting pictures after pictures after pictures. Next, I've said okay, with the 35mm f2 is working great. In my initial test with 35mm f2 it wasn't working great at all. I had big lag. I was hating it a lot. Now it's another total camera and another total lens. So great results, unbelievable, outstanding results. It's so easy on the hand. 50mm f2 on Fujifilm X-T5. Let's talk about how Fujifilm 50mm f2 it is focusing and how are the results on Fujifilm X-T5. So if you are in content like this, please give it a like, subscribe now to my video. And let's see how 50mm f2 is acting on Fujifilm X-T5, because I'm very surprised about the results. So I've took this lens, the 50mm f2 on my Fujifilm X-T5 for documenting an event. And also I'll compare this lens, the 50mm f2, to Sigma 56mm f1.4 and to Sigma 30mm f1.4. And we'll see which lens it is better depending on what you want to do with each lens. So I've took this lens to document an event and I've used it in difficult situation, but also in abstract photography, for portrait photography, for street photography and so on my X-T5. And I am shocked by the results. So let's get to the first point. The first point it is how the combo is feeling in the hand, because it's important. Well, the build quality of the 50mm f2 it is great. You have nice aperture clicks, it is weather sealed, and the most important thing is that this lens is small, is light, and is making Fujifilm X-T5 easy to carry. So great combo on the hand. If you like a longer lens, you can carry this combo all day long in a camera bag. It will not disappoint you regarding weight, size, weather sealing, and as we will see, AF and image quality. Now let's talk about AF. Well, this was the surprising point. The AF of this lens worked great on my X-T5. And why I'm surprised? Because the 50mm f2 didn't have such good AF on my X Pro C, on my X-C4 and other Fujifilm cameras, but on my X-T5 worked better than my 35mm f2. Also worked better than Sigma 30mm f1.4 and also worked better than Sigma 56mm f1.4. So the AF of this small 50mm f2 on X-T5, it is crazy good, crazy fast and accurate. So I was really amazed. It was one of the first lenses that was shining regarding AF on X-T5 with the present firmware of X-T5. So great AF, speed and accuracy, no complaints, amazing. I'm totally satisfied with the AF of this small lens in low light and of course in good light. The next point is image quality. Yes, I feel that this lens is resolving with no problems the Fujifilm X-T5 sensor. I will not do pixel peeping test because it's not important for me, but I feel that the lens it is rendering much better than the 35mm f1.4, than the 30mm f1.4 from Sigma and so on. So, great image quality regarding the rendering. The image is a modern looking image, a Fujifilm WR small lens image. It's rendering like a normal Fujifilm WR small f2 lens, the Fujicron lenses, and so on. So, great image quality, you'll have no complaints. And I feel that yes, you have a boost in image quality because you have the new sensor that will generate tones like a full frame. So this sensor, it is very close to a full frame. Again, this is where the X-T5 it is winning it. More details and better tonal range. So the image will look different compared to an X Pro C, for example. This video is sponsored by my site and my newsletter. On my newsletter I share tips, tricks, POVs, explain POVs, where I document all kinds of events and designs and so on that you can get and download on your computer. So please check my newsletter. You'll find the link of my newsletter in the comments and in the description. Click that link and subscribe now to my newsletter for more tips, tricks and news from me. For street photography and hobby, I would choose the 50mm f2 lens, no questions asked. So if you want a small lens weather sealed, I would go on X-T5 with the 50mm f2. I would not choose for hobby and street Sigma 56mm f1.4 or Sigma 30mm f1.4. I would choose this lens because it is small. You will get the subject separated. It's a lens that can be used also in documentary shots when you have some airy streets. It's a lens that can help you make abstract photography. It's a lens that can help you make fine art photography. It's a lens that can help you make portraiture photography. The AF is reliable, the image quality it is great, the package it is portable and weather sealed. So I'm totally loving this lens. It's a no-brainer on X-T5 if you want this field of view. But if you want to do paid work and if you want portraits, yes, you will need a longer lens. So for portraits especially, I would use the 35mm f1.4 or go with Sigma 56mm f1.4 if you want a portraiture lens. But if you want a lens that will be able to do, how I've said, street photography, fine art photography, documentary photography, detailed shots and portraits, this is the lens to go. But I would not use this lens exclusively for portraits. I feel that the field of view and the f2 aperture aren't sufficient compared to other Fujifilm lenses that are out there. So I would not use this lens exclusively for portraits. But if you want a general lens and if you like this field of view, then this is the lens to go. And I like this field of view especially for fine art photography and for abstract photography. So this is where this lens comes in. When I'm on the streets, I can do some abstract shots like soul lighter, I can do some documentary shots, and also I can do some portraiture photography and some detailed photography and so on. So again, a very usable lens to have on you. And I especially love it more for hobby street photography. I like it more than the 56mm f1.4 from Sigma or from Fuji. So this is the lens I would go in the Fujifilm system for street and hobby. This is manual focusing perfection, and it is so fun to use this 50mm f1.2 lens on Fujifilm X-T5. So I want to share with you my review about this budget-friendly lens that is bringing excellent image quality and excellent manual focusing experience on your Fujifilm camera. In today's video, I want to present to you my real-world experience in using this 50mm f1.2 lens from TTArtisan in Fujifilm X mount. So I've received this lens from TTArtisan and I've decided to take this lens and shoot it on the streets. At first I was a little scared because it's a 50mm lens on an APS-C crop sensor. So this means that this lens is giving me on my Fujifilm X-T5 a 75mm field of view. So it's a short tele lens, a manual focusing short tele lens. And I was thinking, how on earth I will be able to focus this lens in street photography, and I don't know, I was feeling scared in trying to use this lens for street photography. I was thinking that okay, I will be able to use it for portraits, for static objects, for fine art, street photography and so on, but in street photography I was afraid that I would not be able to focus the lens. But I had a big surprise, and we'll get to that part after we will talk about the build quality of this lens. So regarding the build quality of this lens, I've made a video when I've opened the lens, and I was amazed how this lens is staying in the hand. It has a very good heft to it. It is fully metal and glass. Also, the aperture ring has very nice clicks, and you don't bump the ring, and I really like these protruding parts that are helping me to change the aperture. So I'm really loving the aperture ring. It is nice, no complaints here. Next, what I like regarding the build quality is that you are able to see on the silver version, but probably also on the black one, very well the markings, and the focusing ring has a very good grip to it. So you can maneuver the focusing ring very easy, and it will not slip between your fingers. So regarding aperture ring, manual focusing ring and zone focusing, I really have no complaints. The focusing ring, it is very smooth, so again, nice touch. Also, I like very much the focusing throw. You are able to get from infinity very fast between 2 and 3 meters, and also 1.5, where all the action is happening in general for this lens. So regarding build quality and ergonomics, all is working fine. I would also add that this lens minimum focus distance is 0.5 centimeters. So again, nice touch, and when you are getting to the 0.5 centimeters, the focusing throw, it is a large focusing throw, so you will be able to nail focus. But what does this mean in practice? First, I've used this lens in my house and doing a photo shoot with my wife, and I've obtained great results. I've observed from that photo shooting and from using the lens indoors that I was able to get the focusing right. And I had some wow moments because again, this is a 75mm lens. It's hard to focus, especially with manual focusing. I will give you in a moment my settings, but let's get to the interesting part. So I've decided, okay, I've obtained good results indoors, but let's see how this lens will perform outdoor in street photography. And I went for a photo walk, and the results that I've obtained are great. I've decided to use this lens in street photography just at f1.2 aperture. Or I will get the image or I will not get the image. And I was able to get images after images after images. I was totally amazed by how good is this lens in manual focusing mode. I was able to get better images in focus images than with an AF third-party lens like Sigma 56mm f1.4 that I will do a review soon about that Sigma. So subscribe if you are not subscribed, and give it a like. So after nailing images after images, I felt very confident, and my settings for manual focusing were very easy. Highlight picking, red highlight picking, high. So the highlight picking of this lens worked amazing good. When I was seeing the eye in focus or the glasses in focus or what I wanted to be in focus, I was hitting the button. If some images aren't in focus, it's because of me, and also because it's an f1.2 aperture lens and because the subject was moving. But the highlight picking with this lens or Fujifilm X-T5 worked amazing good for a telephoto lens. So great results when you will be able to see the highlights on the eyes that are red. Just press the button and you will be sure that the eyes will be in focus. So this is how I did my portraits with my wife, and this is how I've done street photography with this lens. So it is manual focusing perfection. I had this impression just with one lens, and this is TTArtisan again, 26mm f1.4 that I made a review, and other users that bought this lens confirmed again how well this lens is performing in manual focusing mode with highlight picking, and this lens also performs outstanding. This is the word, outstanding performance in highlight picking. So the precision of this lens is remarkable for street photography, for portraits and so on. You don't need to punch in to check the focus. You don't need to punch in. And this method to punch in is not very suitable for street photography because you lose the moment. Now let's talk about the image quality of this lens on Fujifilm X-T5. Well, I feel the image quality, it is comparable. Looking at JPEGs, I didn't look at RAW files because again, you don't buy this lens for, I don't know, professional photography, but you can use it for artistic photography. So at f1.2 lens, when I've looked at my portraits, I was very satisfied with the image quality, with the color rendition, with the nice details of the portraits. The portraits are flattering, the image is looking good, the background, it is very blurry. By the way, this lens has 10 aperture blades, 10 aperture blades. This means that your background will be very melted, very melted. So the image quality for the price, for this lens, and how this lens is working, it is amazing good. You can't ask for more. So again, I'm very satisfied. At f1.2 image quality, I've looked at the eyes that were in focus and I felt that the image quality is okay. Of course, you'll not have Zeiss sharpness at f1.2, but if you close the aperture, the image will become sharper and will give you a modern look from f2.8 or even f2. It really depends what you want. For portraits, for fine art photography, for poetry photography, and TTArtisan is saying that this lens on their page, it is for poetry photography. This is the lens to go. So for the purpose of what this lens was built, my impression is that the purpose, it is achieved. You get the image quality that you want for an artistic character lens, and character in a good way, in a very good way. My pictures with my wife were published on a national television. This is what I've done, the pictures with this lens. So I didn't want to use a modern Fujifilm lens or my full frame lens. Yes, I've used TTArtisan with Fujifilm X-T5 to publish the pictures of my wife on a national television. So these are my impressions regarding image quality. I'm really liking it a lot. Also, I would use this lens for still life, again for fine art, poetry, still life photography, but also for abstract photography. I wanted to do some abstract photography, but I didn't have time enough. But for abstract street photography, this is the lens to go, and especially paired with Fujifilm X Pro 3, because you'll have the optical viewfinder and you'll be able to use the optical viewfinder to compose better those fine art images. Now let's talk about the fun factor, the mojo-ness factor of this lens, because I really need to address this. This lens, it is fun to use. So you buy this lens to have fun, to have joy in your photography. So a great lens. This is why we are buying vintage lenses, and we adapt vintage lenses via an adapter, and we have a big package to have the fun of using a vintage lens that in general it is more expensive and it will not work with the precision that a modern manual focusing lens dedicated to your X mount will offer you. So my advice is that if you like to buy lenses for fun, for fine art photography, for street photography, for portraiture photography, lenses with character, vintage lenses, then this lens can make a way in your collection, because it is very fun to use this lens. It will really invite you to pick it up and to use it. And also this lens is reminding me of my old Jupiter f1.5 lens. Why it's reminding me? Because of this silver color. I'm really liking again how well TTArtisan was able to bring a nice silver color to this lens. So It's a fun lens to use. It will really invite you to pick it up and use it on your Fujifilm cameras. And again, the results with the Fujifilm color science are extraordinary. So in conclusion, I was afraid in using this lens, but after I've used it, I was amazed that I was able to get better images, more images in focus than using my Sigma AF lens, the 56mm f1.4 lens in low light. So I will do that review of the Sigma lens as soon as possible, but again, this lens performed better than my AF lenses. So for me it was a very new experience. I didn't expect that I was able to manual focus a tele short lens, a 75mm short lens, and get so good results. But yes, this lens for highlight picking, it is perfection. Also, the manual focusing ring, very nice, with perfect throw for this focal lens. So again, a nice lens from TTArtisan, a nice lens that will bring you much joy in your photography. The next lens that I invite you to watch my review, it is TTArtisan 20mm f1.4 lens. The video will appear here or here, I don't know, but check that review, because this is the first lens when I observed, and also users that bought this lens commented that they observed also the highlight picking and the manual focusing with this lens is extraordinary. Please subscribe now to my channel. Check my affiliate links if you want to buy something from Amazon. Check my e-sign and other goodies and links that you'll find in the comments and in the description, and give it a like. This helps me a lot. Sigma 56mm f1.4 in real world use. Let me share with you my review in real world use of this lens on Fujifilm X-T5. First of all, I really like how pictures are looking when you are shooting a 56mm f1.4 or an f1.2 lens on your Fujifilm X-T camera or X Pro camera or X camera. But I didn't buy the Fujifilm 56mm f1.2 because it was a very slow lens, and the new lens, it is very expensive for someone who is using these lenses for hobby. And again, it is big, and the news about the AF of the 56mm f1.2 aren't good news. So I've decided to use my Sigma 56mm f1.4 on my Fujifilm X-T5. Before that I had Viltrox 56mm f1.4, and I've sold that Viltrox, but I'll do a comparison between Viltrox and Sigma. So let's get straight to the most important point for me, that it's AF. I feel that the AF of Sigma on Fujifilm X-T5 is a mixed result AF. You don't get consistent results. So personally, as a Sony user, I will not use this lens in even photography. I feel that the AF on X-T5 is not something that will help me get good pictures. I feel that the AF will not help me get the decisive moment. I have lots of missed focuses in low light with this lens. It's focusing slow when you don't have light on your subject. If you have light on your subject, you'll have acceptably sharp pictures, but I feel the missing rate it's around 40%, more or so. So you can't rely on this lens that you'll get the decisive moment if you want to use a lens like this in street photography or in event photography. So the AF, it is really not on par with other Fujifilm lenses like 50mm f2 or with the Sigma 30mm f1.4. Yes, the image quality, and we will discuss immediately about the image quality, it is great, but the AF, it's something mixed, so you can't rely on it for the moment. We'll see if Fujifilm will finally bring an update to the X-T5 AF, but at this moment the AF algorithm of X-T5 with the Sigma is not bringing better results. So you'll get pretty sharp pictures, in focus pictures, but from time to time you will miss the focus, and in street photography in low light you really don't want to use it from my point of view. Firmware 2.0 update. So I've decided to test again Sigma before publishing this video with the new firmware from Fujifilm, because how I've said, I was very unsatisfied with Fujifilm AF with Sigma. But for my surprise, I'm very amazed and very satisfied now with the AF of X-T5 with Sigma 56mm f1.4. My settings were the following: AFC, continuous focusing, eye tracking, and the tracking box was set to tracking. And Fujifilm with Sigma detected the eye better than before, but what is interesting is that before Fujifilm was releasing showing a green box, but now even if the eye was in focus, how I was seeing on the screen, the box didn't confirm the AF and X-T5 didn't release. So it worked great because I had more pictures in focus, like 90% or even so, but it didn't release. Also, I have AFC to release just when the focus is confirmed. But this is interesting because before the Firmware 2.0, X-T5 confirmed the focus, it was releasing, but the eye and the subject wasn't in focus. Now it's taking the shot just when the focus is confirmed, and indeed the pictures are in focus. Overall, I've got better results, but also I've got lesser released focuses. So if you want more pictures and if you don't want to lose the decisive moment and you are okay with some pictures out of focus, you can set the AFC to release priority, not to release when the pictures is in focus. So overall, a better experience, but I would not say a greater experience compared to a Fujifilm 50mm f2 or to a Fujifilm 35mm f2 or even to Fujifilm 35mm f1.4. The test was in backlighting conditions, how you are able to see it's working much better than before. It's a usable body and lens for event photography, for wedding photography, for street photography, I would say in this moment. But again, don't expect results like on Fujifilm with 35mm f2, with 50mm f2 and so on. So it's working. The pictures are in focus when Fujifilm is confirming focus, but it will not release and it will not acquire focus with confirmation so fast as other lenses. So this is my update for Sigma with Fujifilm X-T5 Firmware 2.0. Before discussing about image quality, let me share with you my impression about the combo, how Sigma is staying on my X-T5, because this was one of the reasons that I've sold my Viltrox, because I felt that that Viltrox lens was a little big, was a little longer, and I really love the fact that the Sigma, it is very compact. And the weight again is okay. So I really like this combo. Regarding a small combo for the 85mm field of view, Sigma with X-T5 is a great combo. It's at the limit regarding the weight from my point of view as an everyday carry, but you can use this as an everyday carry using a small bag, and I really like the combo. It is very well balanced, it's looking like a Minolta lens, and you will get great results if you have patience with the AF. Now let's talk about the image quality of Sigma 56mm f1.4 on X-T5. Well, I feel the image quality, it is great, it is outstanding. It is very good. You get very good image quality. The rendering of the Sigma 56mm f1.4, it is on the modern side. You'll get Sigma colors, that pastel colors. You'll get modern sharpness. You'll get a very nice blurry background, and you will get a very good subject to background separation. So I'm loving the results, the colors, the sharpness of this Sigma. But on the other side, I'm missing the vintage look of my Viltrox 56mm f1.4. So again, at this point, personally, I would prefer the Viltrox on my X-T5. The image quality, again, I don't have nothing to complain. It is great, but I especially like the vintage look, the vintage glass, that melted background from a vintage lens, and Viltrox is using that kind of glass. So image quality great, but is looking like a modern lens. So if you are into this, you will have no worries. Another big advantage of this lens, it is minimum focus distance. The Fujifilm 56mm f1.2 has the same minimum focus distance as this lens. And this lens, it is way less expensive than the 56mm f1.2 from Fuji. And in my point of view regarding minimum focus distance and portraits, you are there with this lens. Of course not there, but enough. The big package of the 56mm f1.2 and the price for me personally are not compelling at all, especially regarding that they didn't bring to the table a fast AF. Just take an 85mm f1.8 full frame lens and you will see how fast those lenses and how accurate those lenses are focusing. I feel that we don't have an equivalent lens like this on Fujifilm. From my point of view. The next point is the price. This is where Sigma wins. You can get this Sigma for an excellent price, brand new, and also for an excellent price on the used market. Does it deserve the price? I feel that yes. Sigma deserves the price, and if you use just Fujifilm system and if you want an all-around 85 equivalent lens for your portraiture photography or for your street photography, you can accept the AF mixed results of this lens and go with the modern look of this lens. Yes, you can opt for the Viltrox, but the Viltrox is not so sharp at f1.4, but Viltrox will give you again a more vintage look. But the package again will be bigger and you will not have the minimum focus distance as good as Sigma. So this is why I feel that Sigma 56mm f1.4 it is the best choice, even if it has some flaws. If Viltrox will bring a new Mark III 56mm f1.2 lens to the market with better minimum focus distance, with better AF and with better sharpness at f1.4, smaller, I will for sure opt for Viltrox because I'm really a big fan of Viltrox glass. I always get the question how I will make money from my photography hobby, how I will make money from content creation. For this I've made a special report, 5 essential tools to grow your photography business. You can get this free report and access to my business newsletter where I will share with you free, valuable, actionable content from my 20+ years experience in growing online businesses. It's not about the photography skills, it's not about the photography gear, it's especially about business skills if you want to make money from your hobby. So if you are into this kind of content, please subscribe now to my business newsletter and instantly you'll receive my top 5 essential tools that will help you grow and start your photography content creation business. Type the short link in your browser or access it in comments or even here in this YouTube video. Fujifilm X-T5 with 35mm f1.4 review after using in real world street photography and documentary photography by day and by night this setup. So when Fujifilm X-T5 arrived and I've bought it, I was thinking again about this lens. Will this lens work this time? Will this lens deliver this time results that will not frustrate me on Fujifilm X-T5? Because I had some bad experience in using XF 35mm f1.4 on X Pro 3 and other bodies, but my lenses were bought from the used market. So this setup is brand new, so we can't blame it on the used market. And I'm amazed. This setup, 35mm f1.4 with Fujifilm X-T5 is working unbelievable great. Unbelievable great. I'm sorry that I really need to repeat this, but it's a dream come true. It's a dream come true. This lens with this body, with this AF of X-T5 and with the ergonomics, the weight and all that it's packed here, it's a dream come true. Why I'm saying that? Well, there are 3 main problems that Fujifilm needed to resolve. First is the AF. The AF in single mode. Let's talk about this AF. Well, the AFS is working great. It's working great in low light, in good light, and you don't have that back focusing. You don't have that back focusing and that hunting with the AF in single mode with X-T5. So the AFS is resolved on X-T5 with this lens. It's resolved. Also, when we are talking about this lens, I really do hope that you know that this lens is a special lens, and it really is, and this is why I've bought it, how I've said, for the third time. Next, the AFC. This is another problem. People are wanting to use continuous AF with their Fujifilm cameras, like on other modern full frame cameras. Well, I've tested again this function separately. So I've set my X-T5 in AFC with eye tracking, zone focusing, and AF plus manual F disabled, because it seems this firmware is operating like this. Anyway, I've made these settings to be sure I will not have other problems that can ruin my AFC experience. So I've used this setup with my kids that are moving fast, and it's hard to get kids nailed in focus. And I've also used this setup on the streets. And for my surprising, the AFC with eye tracking or face tracking, it worked great results. So for a photo shooting, for a paid photo shooting, where you will work with a family or with a kid or with another person, you will not have problems regarding AFC, eye tracking, face tracking, and so on. Yes, you will not use this lens for sports photography and for different extreme sports when you want to track the subject and so on. No, this is a documentary lens, a portraiture lens, an everyday lens, and it can be used without problems with AFC and AFS with eye tracking and face tracking depending on the situations. Of course, for street photography, I do prefer to use it with AFS or AFC plus tracking, because the tracking was working very well with Fujifilm X-T5 also. So the AF problem, from my point of view, is resolved. And the big thing here is, again, we have here a light lens. It's not a 36mm f1.4 lens. It's a light lens that it's rendering in a special way. And we are now getting to the image quality part. The special rendering of this lens on Fujifilm X-T5. How I've said in my previous videos regarding the image quality of this new sensor, the 40 megapixel sensor from Fujifilm. This sensor is a totally another league. It's a totally another league. This sensor, even if the lens will not resolve the 40 megapixel resolution of the sensor, this sensor is bringing the best from your lens. It will not make your 35mm f1.4 look like a vintage lens. No, it will look like a Leica glass. It will look like a Leica glass. The image quality that you get from here, from my point of view, is comparable with a full frame, with a true filmish look to it, a true organical look. So the image quality from this lens with X-T5 is great. I really don't have words to describe how jaw-dropping is the image quality. But if you want to do pixel peeping, yes, you can be disappointed. But I don't use this lens for pixel peeping on the freckles of someone's face. No, I use this lens for portraits, for documentary photography, for isolating my subjects, and for pictures that are big on the screen and in printing. And even if those pictures are big, will look great. Yes, at pixel level, probably this lens will not be as sharp as the new 36mm f1.4, and you will not have those fine details, but this lens is not for this. You will get very filmish looking pictures from this body and lens, and the image quality again is great because it's not about the resolution and is not about the details. It's about the dynamic range, it's about the tonalities and the gradations of the colors and of the black and white tones. Personally, I feel here I have AF Leica machine, small capable, easy to carry, easy to focus, easy to use every day. Point and shoot, get a nice sharp picture full of detail, dynamic range, tonalities, colors, and the special rendering. So the package is again jaw-dropping. I'm really loving it, and this is why I really like to use X-T5, even if X-T5 is a little bigger than X-T4 and other cameras that I was liking in the past. But the image quality is so great with, again, any lens. And with this 35mm f1.4, you will get the gold, you will get the best from the Fujifilm system. If you like me, image quality like this. If you want that resolution and if you want that pixel peeping level, then yes, you have the option for the 33mm f1.4. But the 33mm f1.4 can't be an everyday lens. That lens, you will use it for event photography if you are asking me. But if you want a good quality combo, this lens with X-T5 for everyday photography, for family photography, for documentary photography, for portrait photography, for fine art portraiture, you must use this combo. You must use this combo and see it for yourself if you'll be so thrilled like I am. But yes, in conclusion, X-T5 with this 35mm f1.4 is a dream come true, and I really don't have any complaints. The image quality and the AF are at another level. This is it, try it for yourself and tell me in your comments what you think. And in this video I want to share with you my real world experience in street photography with Fujifilm X-T5 and 35mm f1.4. With a big change, I've upgraded my Fujifilm X-T5 firmware. I've tested this firmware on my X-T5 with 35mm f2 and 80mm f1.4, how I've showed in a previous video, and the results were great. But the big question that I had was how 35mm f1.4 will act now with the new firmware. Will this new firmware bring something better to this lens? Will this lens finally perform better on X-T5 with the new firmware update? So I want to share with you this right now. But before, please give it a like and subscribe to my channel. So the first test that I made was with my kids. I've got out in the park and I've tried to take some shots of my kids coming towards me. The first results with my kids were excellent. I was amazed how X-T5 with 35mm f1.4 was able to track the eyes and to take sharp pictures with fast moving subjects, of course, coming towards me. This is an easy task in general, but again, with the old lens, with the old motor of this lens. So great results in IAF. Anyway, this was a short test, and after that I said, okay, I must try this lens now in street photography. How this lens will perform. If this lens will perform like the 35mm f2 in street photography with the latest firmware, then this will be an amazing combo for street photography, for portraiture photography, for candid portraits or for post portraits, because finally it seems we have a reliable IAF. So I've got out with my 35mm f1.4 and my X-T5. But before telling you the results, I must address some settings that I had on my X-T5. This video is sponsored by my site and my newsletter. On my newsletter I share tips, tricks, POVs, explain POVs, where I document all kinds of events and designs and so on that you can get and download on your computer. So please check my newsletter. You'll find the link of my newsletter in the comments and in the description. Click that link and subscribe now to my newsletter for more tips, tricks and news from me. I've set a custom button to activate IAF when I wanted that IAF to be activated, because in some shots, of course, because I have lots of people, the camera will skip the point from people to people depending on how you set it up. And again, for the IAF to work, you need to have AF plus manual F disabled, and you must have AFC selected. Don't use IAF with AFS. in single point the settings will not give you good results. And I started to take some pictures, some test pictures, because again I was testing the IAF of this function and the tracking of this function. The results were very good in good lighting conditions, but also in bad lighting conditions, in low light conditions. I was able to take shots after shots after shots. It was tracking the eye, it was tracking the person. The results are great. Yes, not all the results are entirely in focus, but again, it's not something that it disturbed me. It's not something that I can say, okay, it's not usable. No, it is very usable. Very, very usable. So I was able to get shots after shots, and the eye tracking worked great. Also, I've set my X-T5 on continuous low speed burst with 5 frames per second. I don't want lots of pictures, especially in street photography, but because this was a test, I wanted to see how it was acted. In general, 19% of the pictures were in focus, so great results. But after the light was going out and I was entering in night photography, I've discovered some mixed results. So if the person was in dark shadows, it wasn't able to track and to nail IAF so good. But what amazed me is that I've got good results in very, very dark situations. So in some situations the IAF wasn't working, but in some very, very dark situations the IAF was seeing the eye and X-T5 was able to take the pictures. So the overall conclusion is that the update, it brings new life in the 35mm f1.4. Finally, you can use this lens with confidence that you'll have the portrait and the eye in focus, and the eye or the AF will not hit behind the subject, because this was one of the biggest problem of this lens. It was back focusing on some bodies. Now you can use it like any other normal Fujifilm lens. Of course, it will not act as fast as a 35mm f2.WR, but it's almost there. It is almost there. So now, for me, it is very hard to decide which lens I should bring in street photography, because I was generally preferring the 35mm f2 because of the fast AF, but now the AF-C with this lens, it is as fast as the 35mm f2. And again, if you don't want to use IAF, just AF-C with tracking or without tracking, just a point if the person comes to you, the results are again great. So this lens with the new firmware of X-T5 is a totally new lens. It's a totally new lens. And the big advantage here that I really like is that now you can have a beautiful portraiture package, a beautiful package that can bring you nice images with character, with good character, with AF, with confident AF. So this is a huge deal. You can get some nice portraits and some nice shots with this combo. And finally, you have a working combo that will not frustrate.
If you like this video, please give it a like, subscribe now, and check my next video. Also, check my links if you want to buy something from the gear that I'm using, subscribe to my newsletter, leave me a comment, and share my videos with your friends. Help me grow, it's free for you, and it will motivate me a lot to continue publishing this kind of videos. I will talk to you soon, bye bye.